Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of GeoPod. I'm your host, Dylan Woods. And on today's episode, we're going to do another strategy breakdown pertaining to the current situation within the Strait of Hormuz. Over the course of this clip, I am going to disseminate my strategies and tactics regarding the resolution of the current predicament that the combined strike force is facing within the Strait of Hormuz and free the Strait from Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps control. The Strait of Hormuz, at this particular moment in time, is one of the most contested areas of this conflict. And I've heard a lot of opinions, a lot of assessments, a lot of analyses being spouted on social media pertaining to the resolution of this predicament. What strikes me as odd, and I want to start with this, is that apparently Iran's closure of the Strait of Hormuz has come as somewhat of a surprise to a lot of the so-called experts and commentators out there. Why that baffles me is, well, Iran has been quite vocal about its willingness and ability to close the Strait of Hormuz in times of conflict. Rather, it has been one of their main deterrents to prevent or to dissuade others from waging war against it. So the fact that this comes as a surprise to a lot of the individuals belonging to the expert class of geopolitics and warfare comes as a bit of a surprise to me, honestly, because this was to be expected. As a matter of fact, the combined strike force did expect it to a certain degree, albeit not to the level that it currently is right now, which in my opinion is a great strategic flaw. Now, ever from the beginning of this war, the combined strike force had multiple objectives, and one of those objectives was to degrade the maritime capabilities of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps to the fullest extent possible, more or less neutralize the Iranian Navy in general. And they have made some significant progress in that regard. However, in my opinion, they could have put more emphasis on that strategic objectives rather than, let's say, going after Iran's internal security apparatus as of this particular moment in time. And I've recently done a lot of other breakdowns on this channel as to why this was not a smart idea. So what the United States and Israel are currently doing is they're ramping up their campaigns against maritime and naval targets. This is something that they should have done from the get-go, as I've said before. I feel like if more emphasis was placed on the neutralization of Iran's maritime capabilities, whether that be it conventional or asymmetrical, a lot of the hurt that we're currently feeling could have been prevented. However, they're ramping up their campaigns. They're currently going after the small watercraft the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps has at its disposal. They have approximately between 5,000 or 6,000 of these small watercrafts. So that alone is quite a heavy task to neutralize them all in full. And at the same time, Iran's offensive capabilities from the shoreline, particularly their drone and missile capabilities, are being degraded further. What we have seen recently is United States fighter jets, especially the F-18 Hornets, being able to operate at a much lower altitude, which tells us that Iran's air defenses have been all but degraded within the area, allowing for a greater scale of offensive measures being targeted at them. So that's what the United States have said they're going to do in the coming days. They're going to ramp up their aerial campaigns against Iranian naval targets, both on the islands as well as along the shoreline. Here is the problem. Aerial campaigns, although effective in degrading offensive and defensive capabilities, cannot guarantee the complete neutralization of Iran's asymmetrical capabilities pertaining to the Strait of Hormuz. And that is something that we should get after right this moment, because the global economy is reeling from Iran's closure of the Strait of Hormuz. And it is something that needs to be reversed as soon as possible. Now, what I will do in this situation such as this is, first and foremost, I will take control of the most strategically important islands within the Strait of Hormuz, primarily the Kar, Qesem, Tums, and Abu Musa islands. These are forward operating hubs that the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps utilizes in order to initiate their campaigns against commercial shipping vessels within the Strait of Hormuz. You neutralize those islands, you take them over. You not just bombard them with aerial campaigns, no, you take control of them. That already will degrade the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps' ability to a huge extent. And this is something that I believe that the Americans are currently considering. There's a amphibious assault group on its way to the Middle East right now, consisting of Marine expeditionary units, which can be utilized to do just that, to take control of small areas, small pieces of land, um, um, and neutralize the threat in those specific areas. And it is something that I believe the United States is considering seriously as of this particular moment in time, and they should. I would definitely use those expeditionary units to take control of those islands, perhaps even in collaboration with an alliance or a joint task force of the Gulf states who have equal benefits with the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz on the short term, right? However, even that might not be enough. If we truly want to defend the snakes, if we truly want to neutralize, not just degrade, but neutralize the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps' abilities to manipulate, sabotage, or pose any sort of peril to the Strait of Hormuz, we must take it a step further. Now, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps doesn't merely operate from the islands I just mentioned. They operate from the shoreline as well, particularly the Bandar Abbas port, and they have other naval ports and naval forward operating hubs along those southern shorelines as well, which the combined strike force is currently bombarding with airstrikes. So ideally, what you want to be doing is you want to take control of these strategic ports so that the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps can no longer utilize them to initiate operations in the Strait of Hormuz. You want to literally cast them out. Aerial campaigns alone, as of this particular moment in time, are not sufficient enough to reopen the Strait of Hormuz on the short term. And it's as simple as that. So yes, to a certain extent, we need boots on the ground. And albeit in a limited capacity, if you want to reopen the Strait of Hormuz on the short term, that's your best bet. You get expeditionary units, amphibious assault groups, they take control of both the islands and the most strategic naval ports along the southern coastline of Iran, thereby defanging the snake that is the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps Navy and prevent them from waging an asymmetrical war against you. Now, in conjunction with that, I believe the world would already benefit if some merchant vessels could pass the Strait of Hormuz safely, albeit under a security escort. And this is why I believe the international community must step up more. I was heavily disappointed when pretty much the collective of European nations said that they would not assist the United States of America in security operations pertaining to escorting merchant vessels within the Strait of Hormuz. A big strategic flaw, in my opinion. And this is it has been one of the greatest vulnerabilities within NATO's posture ever since Donald Trump got elected into office. This was an opportunity, in my opinion, for NATO to project strength and to project unity against a foe that is part of an ever-expanding bloc that wishes to challenge it. And they forfeited that opportunity. Obviously, this will annihilate President Trump to a much greater extent, and it will do nothing but wreak more dissent within the ranks of NATO. Think about this war what you want. But if we can all agree on something, it is that a united NATO that can project unity to its adversaries is of the greatest importance in this particular moment in time. And in my opinion, they forfeited an opportunity to do just that. And the excuses, in my opinion, lay bare lingering vulnerability within NATO policy. Many of European leaders have said we are hesitant to deploy forces to the Strait of Hormuz because usually the Middle East is not an area where we wish to project our military power or wish to project our influence, which has been one of my greatest critiques regarding NATO policies and the territories they are currently active in. I've more than one occasion called for NATO to expand within these territories, not to merely depend on the United States, but to expand for France, Germany, United Kingdom, to bolster partnerships within the region, to expand them, to create new ones, to let their influence be known, to project confidence, to project power, and to project security and stability. This is of such great importance for NATO's credibility in the future and for NATO to effectively address the threats of tomorrow. But I've done multiple videos about that particular subject in other clips, so I won't delve too much into that right now. However, what I would like to see is some sort of joint task force consisting of multiple international actors that will take it upon themselves to safely secure merchant vessels within the Strait of Hormuz so that a combined strike force can defang the snakes upon the islands and along the Iranian shoreline. This is the fastest way to reopen the Strait of Hormuz whilst mitigating economic damage and economic disruption on the long term. And last but not least, for everyone who have been saying and spouting that Iran poses no imminent threat to the region, let alone the global stability in general, Here is your answer. A rogue regime that can control one of the world's most important waterways at their whim poses an imminent threat not just to the region, but to global stability in general. Every country that benefits from trade and commercial shipping through the Strait of Hormuz should be threatened by the Ayatollah regime and should take the necessary steps to prevent the Ayatollahs from ever gaining control over the Strait of Hormuz again. So here's what the Combined Strike Force needs to do. Defend the snake at every turn and never allow them to manipulate, sabotage or pose a threat to the Strait of Hormuz in any way, shape or form ever again. This is all I wanted to share with you today. In the coming days, I will post a general update regarding the ongoing conflict in the Middle East because there are so many developments taking place at the same time that it's hard to break them all down in one video. This has been a strategic breakdown particularly designed to inform you and to disseminate my strategies and tactics pertaining on how to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. And I will post a general Middle East update somewhere later this week. I want to thank you very much for taking the time to listening to this clip. Please leave a comment in the comment section down below. If you have any questions for me, please feel free to reach out to me on one of my socials, and I aim to get back at you as swiftly as possible. Once again, thank you and have a blessed day. Bye-bye.